Okay, hi guys, welcome to lesson 1 of physical skills. So we are going to look into more detail of where these physical skills will come up in the written exam. So we're going to look at all 11 today, but in particular 2, so extension and isolation. All you need right now is a pen and let's start the lesson. So, where will these physical skills be in our theory exam? So, the first thing that you have to be able to do is to define all or 11 of the physical skills. Okay, you have to be able to define them. The next thing you have to be able to do is describe a short movement phrase. Okay, so that's simply the examiner wanting to know, can you explain where isolation, for example, is in a movement phrase? Can you explain that to the examiner or describe that? The next thing is, how can a dancer improve their physical skills? So it could ask you how a dancer would improve stamina, for example. You have to be able to know each of these physical skills and how you can improve each of them. And lastly, the importance of the skill. So why is this skill important for a dancer? What are its uses? What are its benefits? Okay, so what physical skills do you already know? You might want to pause the video and just have a little test for yourself. If not, let's crack on. So we have isolation, which we're looking at today in particular, extension, control, strength, coordination, flexibility, balance, alignment, mobility, stamina. Okay, so as I said, there is a lot of them. Oh, posture. Just missing that one. So there is a lot of them, so you're going to need to figure out a way that you will remember these, so in the exam that you can just reel all of these off, because I'll come on to it a bit later, but in section B of the exam question you will need to refer to a lot of these physical skills, so it's essential that you know all of them. And as well, in section A, you could be asked a question on any one of these, okay? So really important, you know, all the information you can about every single physical skill. Okay, so as I said, hopefully you've got this sheet now, so just make sure you've got that with a pen. Okay, extension and isolation. So extension, lengthening one or more muscles or limbs, okay? So you can imagine that in your head, you can look at that picture. So it's extending and lengthening muscles and limbs, so that full extension that we talk about in class. So just pause the video if you need to and just write down the definition in your table. Next, we are moving on to isolation. So that is an independent movement of part of the body. So when we talk about in class, we might say isolate that body part, okay? So that's about that independent movement, nothing else around that moves, you are isolating that body part. So for example, it might be a turn of the head, or in that picture, for example, the rib is moving to the side. Yeah, just pause the video if you need to write down the definition for isolation. Okay, so one of the things that I said we need to look at is the exercises to improve. So how are you going to improve these particular physical skills? Okay, so let's first look at extension. So we can see there that it's talking about stretching. So you need to actually make sure that physically you can extend all your body parts. So making sure that you're stretched, that you're more flexible. Another physical skill. So you will see as we go along that all of these physical skills feed into each other and help each other out. So for example, the splits, full splits, raised leg on a platform, improving your flexibility, therefore being able to extend that limb fully and reaching that full extension. Another way you can improve your extension is actually looking in the mirror. So it might feel in your body that you're actually fully extending, but you might need to just check in that mirror, oh no, I can extend a little bit more. Isolation. So to perform simple isolation, so it might be just a case of just a simple rib movement, feeling what that's like in your body, so then you can build up to more complex isolation combinations. And then strength exercising, so giving yourself more muscular control to move the body parts independently. So that again feeding into the strength element. So if you have the strength, you're going to be able to isolate more parts of the body and control the body more. Okay, next. Okay, there we go. Describe one exercise or activity a dancer could do to improve extension. So there, make sure that you've highlighted to yourself improve. So you are describing an exercise that will improve the dancer's extension. So if you think back what we've just discussed, that would be either the stretches you could describe and how that improves the extension of the dancer, the flexibility coming in there, or you could talk about using the mirrors to check that you're fully extended. No, sorry, you couldn't say the mirrors there because exercise or activity. Yeah, so mirrors would come under activity, wouldn't it? So you can either do an exercise, i.e. the stretches, or an activity, i.e. the mirror. So it's just important. You can see there, even that confused me a bit. So make sure that you are reading the question really closely, and you can even highlight parts of the question if you wish. Okay, another example, give 2 ways isolation can be improved. Okay, so that's just a different variation of that same question, just switching in isolation there. Feel free to pause the video if you actually want to answer these exam questions. Okay, now moving on to the importance of each of the physical skills. So when we look at these exam questions in a minute, you'll see that the examiner just wants you to say why extension is a positive for the dancer. What does it add? What does it give that dancer? What does it allow that dancer to do? Okay, so you can really simply just imagine yourself extending your leg or extending the arm. What does that do to the overall dance? And you can see we've just listed a couple here. So to allow you to create pleasing lines throughout the body, allows you to accurately demonstrate different styles of dance. And then moving on to isolation, it allows you to replicate the dance style accurately. Okay, so expanding on that one slightly, that would be, for example, the street dance style. You need effective isolation to actually perform the movements, so that would allow you to accurately portray the dance style. Allows you to perform the intricate, complex movements. Okay, so similarly to that, actually, if there's a really difficult isolation sequence, if you don't or have the skill in your body to do isolation, then that would be quite difficult. Okay, exam example. So give 2 reasons why extension is important to a dancer. Okay, so kind of the stuff we've just listed could go straight into that answer. So thinking about why this is important for a dancer, what is this going to add to the overall performance? Again, feel free to pause and answer this question. Is to be able to describe a short movement phrase. Okay, so an example of a question is describe one way a dancer can demonstrate isolation in a dance performance. Okay, so you'd simply have to describe a short movement phrase that includes isolation. Again, pause this and have a go if you want. So just to kind of solidify what you'd actually put in there, so I would always just start with the simple definition of isolation, and then I'd make sure there was a detailed movement example. Remember, this is only 2 marks, but detailed is really essential. You're not going to get those full 2 marks if it is not detailed. Okay, and lastly, we're just looking at section B. So all what we've just done is section A, but you could also be asked about physical skills in section B of the paper. So we're kind of thinking about how does isolation extension contribute to a dancer's final performance. So we could say stuff like it's more aesthetically pleasing, makes the dance look neater, cleaner, to enhance the line of the body, adding dramatic effect, these kind of things. And I just want to show you an example of a question. So this is the question from 2018 GCSE dance paper. So explain how you used physical skills and attributes to contribute to your final performance of one of the set phrases. Okay, so if you're in year 9, you don't quite know what set phrases is yet, please do not worry. If you do know what they are, so we're talking about breathe and shift. So you would explain how physical skills, so that's general, so any of the physical skills can contribute to your final performance. So can help the final performance, can add to the final performance. And you are always linking it back to the set phrase. So you're only talking about either shift or breathe and how the physical skills has helped your final performance. Okay, that's the end of this lesson. I have also uploaded a practical isolation exercise. So if you want to do anything practical, make sure you check out all the videos, because there is some practical classes and exercises that you can get involved with. Remember, all of this is probably not going to go in at once, so please revisit these videos, have a look back at the table. That is a great revision tool just to remind yourself of the definitions, the importance, and how to improve. And also feel free to email me if you have any questions about anything I've just covered.